our mind is incredibly powerful. And when it goes unchecked, your mind that is, and it goes unmanaged, it's like handing a toddler a knife, right? It can wreak havoc up in your noggin. And we don't want any of that. That's why becoming a mind ninja is so important. We have to manage that most powerful tool in our lives. Welcome to Becoming Tantalum with me, Megan Vanell. Discover your brightest self in a journey of transformation and resilience. Let's embark on this path together, starting now. Welcome, my fabulous listeners, to Becoming Tantalum. I am your coach and your host, Megan Vanell. And I have designed this podcast with you in mind. I'm here to provide you with the tools and the strategies that you need to transform your life into everything that you want it to be. So for the month of February, we're going to be talking about managing your mind. And I like to say that you can become a mind ninja. And the work that goes into that, the training, if you will absolutely change your life more than you understand. If you want to feel better, you want better relationships, you want to crush those goals, this is the one thing that you need to work on first. It's going to help you harness the incredible power of your mind. It's the most powerful tool that you have to create the life that you have always dreamed of. So I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today, and I am looking forward to a deep dive into a transformative process that's going to help you in becoming a mind ninja. So we're going to kick off this month with the process that I developed to help my clients manage their mind, and I call it STEER. It's STEAR. I'm aware that that's not how you spell steer, but the process is applicable to any situation. And by any, I mean any and every situation in life. So I'm going to explain to you how the process works and then give you some examples of how you can apply that to your life. If you are in the Tantalum tribe, please don't forget to go back and use the study guide so that you can take a deep dive and apply it to your life specifically and watch the magic happen. But before we jump in, I want to share a little secret with you. This process, the STEER process, has the potential to revolutionize the way that you approach your life, your relationships, and your personal growth. So grab a pen and paper if you want, because you might want to take some notes. We're going to unlock the keys to taking charge of your thoughts and transforming your reality. Okay, so let's quickly go over what STEER stands for, and I'll give you one little example as we go through, and then I'll give you a few more. So let's kick it off with S. S stands for situation. Now remember, situations are always neutral. They're black and white. They are just facts. They're devoid of judgment or interpretation. They could stand up in a court of law. So think of them as blank canvases, and then you get to put your unique artistic touch on it. So an example of a situation would be, I have a job interview tomorrow. Do you sense that neutrality? It doesn't carry any emotional charge on its own. Okay. Then we move on to T. That stands for thoughts. And these are the little powerhouses in your mind that are going to take those neutral situations and turn them into something meaningful for you. They are our storytellers, and man, they can be creative in the best way and also can be very damaging. So in our example of, I have a job interview tomorrow, you might be thinking, I'm not qualified for this job. I'm going to mess up the interview. Okay, if that's your automatic thought, you can see that you added color, negative color to that situation. Our thoughts can be sneaky, and they often stem from beliefs. And those deep-seated beliefs then in our mind spur automatic, almost subconscious thoughts, right? And so you don't even have time when your primal brain is spitting out those thoughts to come up with logical thoughts on your own. And a lot of times those beliefs are either untrue or they don't serve you. So the thoughts that come from them are going to be negative and they aren't going to serve you either. However, if you can properly train your mind, manage your mind, those thoughts instead could be positive and motivational and purposefully created and thought, right? And then it can serve you in amazing ways. So S was for situation, T is for thoughts, and E is for emotion. So emotions are the direct results of your thoughts. They are the colorful paint that's going to transform that blank canvas into a masterpiece or potentially a disaster. So, with the thought that we just mentioned, I'm not qualified, I'm going to mess up this interview, you might experience emotions like anxiety or self doubt or even fear. Okay, depending on the situation and the thoughts that you have. Instead, you could feel things like excitement or motivation or drive, love, happiness, right? All of our emotions. Emotions are everything in life. And as humans, we care more about that than anything else. Even if you are a manly man or a really independently strong woman and you think that your feelings don't matter, they do to everybody. And everyone has those feelings that they want to feel in life. So you want to feel happy or strong or loved, whatever it is. Everybody has different emotions that they desire. But those desired emotions are everything for us. They drive everything that we do. And so they can make us feel unsuccessful or successful. They can make us feel depressed or happy or fulfilled and leave us wanting more, right? Everything in life is driven by that. And as I've talked about before, the human experience is 50-50. You have 50% or half grand emotions and you have 50% not so grand emotions. But as humans, we experience all of them and we need to be willing to experience all of them. And managing your mind, becoming a mind ninja is 100% the way to control the emotions that you're feeling, not to avoid them, but it is possible to feel anything you want at any given moment in life. And Steer can help you with that. And I'll mention this again at the end, but next week we're talking about choosing your emotions and really giving you the power to control what it is that you feel and be willing to feel anything. So we've talked about situation, thought, emotions, and A stands for actions. So that's the next piece of the puzzle. Your emotions drive your actions. So if you're feeling anxious about the upcoming job interview that you have, you might not prepare well, or you might cancel the interview altogether. If you're not sure about steps for a goal that you're trying to reach, so maybe you're trying to lose weight and you don't really know that much about dieting, or not sure about going to the gym, or maybe you want to cut out debt in your life, but you don't know much about accounts that can help you with that, or you don't love the idea of cutting back from those things that you love so much. There's a ton of reasons that you might not take actions, but it's all based on those feelings. Maybe you have a difficult conversation with a friend, but you're afraid of the results, so you choose not to have it. But you can see how your actions are dictated by how you feel. They're directly connected to the emotions that your thoughts created. You seeing the cycle now? And then that last letter R stands for results. So here's where it all comes together. Your actions produce your results, and those results often will reinforce that initial thought. So talking about the job interview, you think that you're not qualified and you're going to mess up the interview. So now you have anxiety and you end up canceling the interview. Well, now the result is that you didn't get that job, and that just validates your initial thought that you're not qualified for the job. So in general, if you're not satisfied with life, with your relationships, you keep failing, let's say, on a journey for a goal that you want to achieve, those results are all a culmination of little mini results from all these little situations that you're thinking, feeling, and acting upon. So if you want a different result, a different life, you need to change those little mini results. So you need to change your actions. So you need to change how you feel. So you need to change what you're thinking. And that's how you're going to change the tapestry of your life, is by all those little mini results. So here's the exciting news. You have the power to change this cycle. If you find that you have a cycle you're not loving, creating results you're not loving, the power is in your hands. You can interrupt that process at any point. So you can start in Steer with the T or the E or the A or the R. And if you want different results, you just need to take a step back and start managing your mind. That's where it all begins. So let's talk about that job interview example. You think, I'm not qualified for this job. That didn't work out well for you, right? What if instead you chose consciously to think, I have the skills and expertise needed for this role. I can do this job. Notice it has nothing to do with maybe you having a similar job or not a job or it being a bigger job than you have. Just, you have the skills and expertise for this role. Well, that's going to make you feel differently, right? It's going to create different emotions. You're going to have confidence. You're going to have optimism. You're going to have determination. And because you feel that way, your actions are going to follow suit. So you prepare thoroughly for the interview and you go and present yourself confidently, and you're likely going to perform at your best. Well, guess what? Different actions are going to lead to different results. So maybe you land that job and you broke that cycle. Now, instead of validating the thought, I am not qualified for this job, I'm going to mess up the interview. Instead, now you have a new belief. I am qualified. I can do this job. And now a new positive cycle has started. So it seems maybe a little outlandish that it's that simple to change. But I'm going to give you a couple other examples. So this first one is kind of brash, just a warning. Let's say that you read an article that a man got hit by a bus and died. I'm going to let that sink in. I want you to be aware of your thoughts and how it makes you feel. And I'm guessing that you're thinking something like, that poor man, and you feel sad. Or maybe instead you're mad at the bus driver. You're like, why didn't he see him? Why didn't he stop? He wasn't even paying attention. And now you're angry. Maybe you took it a different direction and you're thinking, why did this guy not look across the street? Like no one's paying attention anymore. He was probably on his phone and now you're annoyed or whatever. Let's say, do you see how you just added color to a neutral situation? A man died being hit by a bus is neutral. There's no emotions in that. But depending on your thought, you just added emotions to that. Let's read a little further into the story, and you find out that this man was a child molester. Now, what are your thoughts? You might be thinking something like, he deserved it, right? You might be thinking there was natural justice happening in the world. Do you see how, again, a neutral situation, but your thoughts now created a different story in your mind? Okay, so let's take away that piece. He's no longer a child molester. And instead, you read on and you find out he's a father of 4. He was the citizen of the year in his city, and he owns this massive nonprofit that's helping children of domestic abuse. Well, now it might hit you even deeper. You're thinking, why do bad things happen to such amazing people? He was making such a difference in the world. That might even spur you to do something like donate to his nonprofit, right? This wonderful man was taken from the earth. But the situation didn't change. It was all just a man got hit by a bus and died. So we add that color. We add the thoughts, and that causes our emotions, and that leads to our actions, right? So that was a fictitious story, but I want to give you an example, a recent example from a client, and she was totally fine with me sharing this with you. We're going to call her Jackie. And so I'm going to show you how we use the steer process with something that was pretty debilitating in her life. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that everybody has different challenges. You might find what was debilitating to her to be really silly, but to her, it was overwhelming and was day to day affecting her life in a massive way. And when I have clients that come and they have guilt or shame around, how small their situation is or how puny it seems, I validate that, you can drown in an ocean or you can drown in a puddle. Drowning is drowning. So for everybody, whatever their challenge is, that's something they need to get over. So keep that in mind as I tell you this story. So Jackie went into the doctor's office and the doctor told her that she has high blood pressure and that she needs to go on medication and that it's likely that she'll be on medication for the rest of her life. Do you see the neutrality in that? Just facts, black and white. You have high blood pressure, you need medication, you might be on it the rest of your life. But Jackie, the thoughts in her head were things like, I have chronic high blood pressure. I'm going to die early and I'm going to leave my little kids and my husband stranded. Those were her thoughts. So now imagine what she's feeling. She's anxious. She's guilty. She's scared, right? And on top of that, her thought was, I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. And so now she feels this immense pressure to fix something that's broken to fix her brokenness. So you can see how she added color to that situation that was totally neutral. She told me she has high blood pressure. I'm like, okay. But to her, this was absolutely devastating because of those thoughts that she was having. So let me tell you what she did. So because she has this high blood pressure chronic issue that's going to cause her to die, and she has so much fear over it, she bought a blood pressure monitor to have at home. And she would take her blood pressure multiple times a day, every day, like 7 days a week. That was her action. So she had those thoughts, she had those emotions, and her action was that she bought that, and she would cancel doctor's appointments because she didn't want to be reminded, or she had fear of what those numbers would be. And so she would cancel doctor's appointments that she needed to go to because of this fear. Okay. So you can see her thoughts and her emotions and then her actions. And then the results is that she's validating her fear that she has high blood pressure because those numbers keep coming back high. And the results are she's not going to those doctor's appointments that she needs to go to. So you can see that this is a cycle that's really uncomfortable. And it was a really big issue in her life, right? A really negative black mark in her day-to-day life. So we worked for a while on this, but one thing that I worked with her on was this steer process. So I approached it from two different angles, from changing her thoughts and changing her actions. Because remember, I said you can disrupt this cycle at any point, your results, your actions, emotions, or thoughts. So the first thing that we did was we changed her thought. So instead of her thinking on repeat all the time, I have high blood pressure, I'm going to die, leave my family stranded. Instead, we changed it to the thought, my blood pressure isn't an issue. And here's an important thing when you change your thought. It has to be something you believe. So obviously at first she didn't believe that, but we talked about it. So I said, what if you do have high blood pressure? What happens now? And she's like, well, they put me on medication. I said, so that manages it? And she said, yeah. And then I can change some things in my diet and in my exercise routine to help manage it. I said, so if you have high blood pressure, there's ways that you can take care of that just like any other problem in your life. And she was like, yeah. So is it really an issue? She was like, no, I guess not. Okay. So that's what we had her on repeat, reminding herself consciously and purposefully of. Every time these thoughts and these feelings creeped up, she would think the thought, my blood pressure isn't an issue. And I was convinced that maybe it wasn't an issue. But I didn't say this to her. I'm not a doctor and I'm not putting these thoughts in her head. But I know that those actions that she took were causing her more anxiety, and anxiety increases your blood pressure. So the more she saw those high numbers, the more anxious she got, the higher her blood pressure probably was. She wasn't sleeping well because she was nervous about this. The higher your blood pressure goes. And the very first time that she was told she had high blood pressure, she was pregnant. But her thoughts started then. And we all know that when you're pregnant, that one of the symptoms could be an increase in blood pressure. So I wasn't convinced that she had high blood pressure, but I was just going to see how this all played out. We stuck with the thought, my blood pressure isn't an issue. Then we also worked with her actions. So remember, I told you that she was taking her blood pressure multiple times a day and canceling doctor's appointments. So she made a commitment that she was not going to take her blood pressure at home and that she was not going to cancel any more doctor's appointments. I worked with her like separate issue on a plan before she goes to a doctor's appointment so that she can come in calmer. And so hopefully that blood pressure is a true read instead of a read where she's incredibly anxious. So two things are happening here. She has the thought, my blood pressure isn't an issue. And when she allows herself to think about that and focus on that, now she's calm. She doesn't feel the need to test. She doesn't worry about dying and leaving her family stranded. And then on the opposite side, or I guess in the same process, but she also committed to different actions. So she's not going to take her blood pressure at home. Well, now she's not going to be constantly validating that fear of having a high blood pressure. She's not going to be validating that belief. And when she's not canceling doctor's appointments, now she's getting what she needs and she's not anxious about these doctor's appointments that she should be going to. So working with her took a while because it was a huge challenge for her that she'd had for a long time. But specifically using the steer process, her results were incredible. Not only Is she not living anymore with this constant anxiety over the fear of dying? But she is no longer on blood pressure medication that had nothing to do with me. And her blood pressure is totally normal. Every doctor's appointment, completely within normal range. And that to me just shows the power of our mind. Her blood pressure issue, probably not the first time when she was pregnant, but from then on, was most likely caused by these thoughts she was having around it, leading to emotions that were not helping it, leading to actions that were still not helping it, and these results that validated those thoughts in this vicious cycle. So our mind is incredibly powerful. If it can change something like that, imagine what else it can be changing in your life. And when it goes unchecked, your mind that is, and it goes unmanaged, it's like handing a toddler a knife, right? It can wreak havoc up in your noggin. And we don't want any of that. That's why becoming a mind ninja is so important. We have to manage that most powerful tool in our lives, your mind, because it can make or break you. So hopefully through at least one of these examples, or maybe all of them, you found that steer could be helpful and easy to use. Please understand that when I say easy, I don't mean it's an instant fix. It takes practice, it takes repetition, and it takes consistency. But managing your thoughts, becoming that mind ninja, puts the power back in your hands to not only change what you're thinking, but then how you feel, the actions you take, and ultimately those results that you have in your life. It's powerful and it's all within your control. So my dear friend, the key takeaway here is if you want to experience different results in any arena in your life, you need to take control of your thoughts. You need to challenge those automatic, unhelpful beliefs that you have that aren't serving you and consciously, purposefully choose thoughts that serve you and align with your goals. So that is where your power resides, in your ability to manage your mind and intentionally craft through this process your reality. It's not about denying challenges or difficulties in life, but rather it's about responding to them with a mindset that empowers you to overcome and to thrive. As we wrap up today, I want to reflect on a situation in your life. I want you to dive deep and really think about where you might be stuck in a cycle of unhelpful thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. So is there a cycle right now that's not serving you and that you can use the steer process to break free of that cycle and instead create a result that you desire? Give that a thought. Remember that you have the incredible capacity to shape your reality. And so I want you to go out there and start managing your mind, training to become a mind ninja. And until next time, I want you to work on mastering your mind, controlling those thoughts, and watch as your world transforms. It's magical. Next week, I would love for you to join me as we talk about choosing emotions. We talked about how emotions are the most important thing in our lives and they drive our actions. And you have the ability to control and choose to feel how you want in any given moment. And I am not saying that we're avoiding emotions that are hard, but that you'll have the ability to control them and be willing to, without fear, feel any emotion. And imagine the actions that you would be willing to take if you were not afraid to feel anything, to experience any emotion. It's powerful. So join me next week. And I want to say thank you for joining us today. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave me a review. And always remember that your mind is your greatest asset. Take care, friend. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to take all of these concepts and tools to a deeper level, apply them to your life, and watch the transformation happen, I would love for you to join the Tantalum Tribe. That's a monthly membership where all of our community has access to live coaching, self-paced courses, guest coaches, podcast study guides, anonymous question boards, and more. You too can transform your life using the tools and strategies that we have with accountability built in from our community. I really hope that you join us at tantalumcoaching.com. That's TANTALUM coaching.com. Just click join the tribe. I can't wait to see you in there.
An Ironic Media production. Visit us at ironickmedia.com.